What's up, YouTube? Joint venture back again with the very first Outriders Worldslayer Scrapnel build on YouTube. Now, in my previous video, I asked the question, is Scrapnel viable for Outriders Worldslayer? And I came to the conclusion it absolutely is. Though I wasn't really geared at that point in my very first video, and I said that I would spend some time, grind some levels, get some gear together, and put out a build video. And here we are. And there's one thing I have to tell right off the bat. Scrapnel is absolutely underrated. I'll throw in some clips during this build video so you can see what I really mean. Hold your horses, guys. Scrapnel slaps really hard. So, let's get right into the build. Okay, before we get into the gear, there's one thing I have to point out. You can see I've managed to upgrade all my gear to Apocalypse tier. Now, the third mod slot, it's absolutely random what you can get. So please, all the examples that I show here are definitely not best in slot. It's just what dropped for me. I got really lucky on a couple of these drops. And, you know, take it with a grain of salt. See what works for you, but use these examples as a guideline. Okay, so on the helmet, I managed to get Stand Tall. That gives me an extra anomaly power and firepower buff when I'm out of cover for more than 5 seconds. I put Unstoppable Force mod on here, which buffs my anomaly power by 50% of my resistance piercing. I'll get back to that in a minute. On the armor, I went with Trap Cluster. To the Bone. This mod has changed since New Horizons. In New Horizons, the To the Bone mod gave a 30% anomaly power bonus. It has now changed and it is now a 15% anomaly damage bonus. Anomaly damage means everything that does anomaly damage. So all your skills plus the mods on weapons scale with anomaly damage. To the Bone is even better than it was before. So make sure to get this mod. It drops on the Plague Sower's coat. And on the third mod slot, I got a nice damage absorber mod just to give me some extra defenses. As a base value, you can see already I'm sitting at 194k without any buffs and, you know, no skill rotation cycles. The next mod is no resistance against the Fortified, which increases my resistance piercing of 100% of my armor piercing value. I'll get into the details of that a little bit later. The next one is more damage, which is already on this here, on the legs anyway. And freezing boost, just a little extra boost against freeze enemies on the third Apocalypse slot. These Plague Sower hands dropped for me. They got Euthanizer on here. I put Untamed Power on this because every skill I use, if it's dropping a turret, if it's my melee, if it's a grenade, or if I'm popping blighted rounds, this is just going to give me free passive damage in a 5-meter radius and scales to the total anomaly power value that you have. And in some circumstances, I'm sitting at least 800,000 to 1 million anomaly power. So this is really cool. And on the Apocalypse slot, I got Radical Therapy, which stacks lovely with Euthanizer. On the foot gear, I slapped on Arms and Anomaly, that each crit shot gives me anomaly power by X amount. At the moment it's 100k, so I'm already sitting at like 500k anomaly power when I hit a crit. Supplies for the extra Scrapnel, and the third mod slot is the Circle of Power, which actually is the mod that drops on the armor usually, but I got it on the feet, which is really nice. So Circle of Power paired with Damage Absorber, I get extra armor and resistance, plus all these resistance in here. I'm pretty much unkillable, which is really cool. Let's get to the weapons. As a weapon, There are a couple of stats you really have to focus on this build to make it shine. The stats you want to focus on are anomaly power, cooldown reduction, status power, and armor piercing. You will only get armor piercing on your weapons from your ascension tree. And there's one node in your skill tree as well. So in total, you can get 50% armor pierce, and I'll show you in a minute. There are only a couple of weapons that have armor pierce and status power on it. One is the Wicker submachine gun, the Air to the Desert, and the next one that I'm aware of is the Charred Lance, which is one of the new weapons that dropped in the Worldslayer update. Now, usually on the Charred Lance, the main mod on here is Death Ray. I dropped Death Ray because I had it on this side weapon. What I wanted to do with this weapon, since it comes with Resistance Breaker and it dropped with Embalmer's Rage, if you put on Mage Rage on here, look at the description. Crit shots grant a 10% total anomaly power bonus for 15 seconds, which stacks 4 times. That's a total of 40% anomaly power bonus. It's so easy to reach 1,000,000 anomaly power. Plus, when you shoot bosses or like elites and you get their resistance down, it's so easy to stack the Mage Rage, because if you hit one crit, it doesn't matter if you get a body shot afterwards, you're going to stack that anomaly power bonus so quickly, and you're reducing the enemy's resistance. You're going to melt everything in seconds. I've seen elites drop with 1 grenade or 2. It's amazing. So if you can, get the charred lance, get the charred lance, put Mage Rage on here. I can't really remember on which weapon it drops, I'm very sorry. But this one absolutely slaps. Here's a breakdown of the stats. Now, I mentioned that 50% armor pierce is the highest that you can get. So anytime you shoot something with normal bullets, 50% of that is going through the armor of the enemy, and you're going to be doing a little bit more damage, especially when you hit those crits, though weapon damage is really not that critical with this build. Now, you can see my skill damage bonus is already 7,000 times higher, and the resistance pierce is at 90% at the moment. Now, this is so critical. The resistance pierce is everything that your anomaly damage does. So you're going to ignore 90% of the enemy's resistance, and your damage goes through the roof. It really does. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. I was so surprised once I was able to get this working versus bosses, and it's so underrated. Scrapnel is really, really underrated. Let's jump over to the skill tree. Well, skill tree hasn't changed. Lighted turret, lighted rounds, and Scrapnel. And at this level, Ascension level 31 and Apocalypse tier 20, the Scrapnel does 1,000,000 damage base value. Now, I don't want to spoil too much, but I've seen, with the Charred Lance, I've seen values of about 7,000,000 from 1 grenade going off. And yeah, woo, so much fun. Let's move on to the class tree. Well, I've changed the class tree around a little bit. I removed these 2 points here, and I put 1 in drill coating to get that maximum armor piercing bonuses. And I put 1 down in brain freeze. So, you know, when I can't apply toxic or my turret is shooting something else, I'll just melee if something is close. I'll freeze the enemy, put toxic on there. That will also give me a small passive heal at the time and keep me alive over and over again. Other than that, there's really not much to say about the skill tree. Pax points is the same I showed in the previous video. where I asked if Scrapnel is still viable. We're going to take Initial Striker, which buffs my anomaly power by 10% for 5 seconds. Lethal Devices, that Scrapnel now applies Toxic, which also does damage and applies that little passive heal over time. Painkiller, just a little bit more of health regeneration. Break their ranks. This removes the effect resistance. I said in the previous video, when the enemies have that blue vortex next to their health bar, when that is on, usually they can't be interrupted, right? And if you go and they have like a blue glowy AoE around their feet, which also damages you, if you drop a grenade, you're going to remove that, which makes enemies so vulnerable again. So please do not skip this. I believe, to be honest, I think this is the best skill in the tree. And then as the final capstone, Depleted Core, that all my ordnance skills damage is increased by 100% of your status power. Now, if we go back to my inventory, you'll see that my status power is at 70%. I have one piece of gear that has status power. I believe, what is it? Here, I have 2. So if you want to min-max this, right, you could go with either 2 purple pieces which have anomaly and status, like anomaly power and status power on here, and then like cooldown reduction or so, but I don't have that yet. That would put your status power up to 100%. That effectively means all your total ordnance skill damage is going to do double damage all the time, which is massive, massive, massive. And in the Ascension tree, we're just going to try and synergize with everything else that we've got working. We've got resistance pierce bonus, we've got the armor pierce bonus, and we've also got the anomaly damage bonus. This one ties in with the To the Bone mod. So we've got a 15% anomaly damage bonus here, plus the 10 from the Ascension tree, and then the resistance and the armor pierce values you need for no resistance against the fortified, and also, where is it? Oh, I put it on this one. There we go. Unstoppable Force. Increases my anomaly power by 50% for my resistance piercing. So resistance piercing is at 90%. So I'm getting a 45% flat anomaly power damage bonus, which is already reflected here. Well, guys, that's the end of the build. I hope I was as concise as I could be. Take this as a guideline. This build is not perfect, but it works so well, and it's so easy to get through Tire Gratar or even all the old expeditions. You can solo it, you can run in a group, and I'm going to say it again. Scrapnel is absolutely underrated in Worldslayer. You're going to have so much fun if you set up this build. Okay, that's the end of the video. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Hit that sub button, hit that like button, leave a comment. I'll definitely get back to you, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.